Hey team, welcome to another Building Better Baseball timeout. And in today's timeout, we're talking about taking care of the field and field maintenance. We're talking about raking and dragging in the grass in the infield and taking care of the field because part of playing baseball is keeping the field nice. I'm Coach Hart, this is Building Better Baseball, and this is the best place for baseball education. In these timeouts, I teach you the rules of baseball and I teach you how to play the game. Well, in this video, I teach you how to take care of the field. So let's get into field maintenance. So the first thing we have to talk about is the areas of the field that need to be taken care of when we play baseball. And these 5 numbers, these are the 5 big areas of the field that I want to talk about. So the first one is the outfield grass, and there could be a warning track. Not all fields have a warning track in the outfield. So if there is, that's another part of the field that we have to take care of is the warning track, but every field has an outfield grass to take care of. The second one is the infield dirt, number 2. And almost all fields have dirt unless it's a turf field, and we're going to get into turf fields later on, but almost every single baseball field has dirt in the infield. Infield grass. Now this is optional. Some youth fields have no grass in the infield and it's all dirt, and then other fields have grass in the infield. We're going to talk about both. Number 4 is the pitcher's mound. So we always have to take care of the pitcher's mound because there's a lot of action that happens in the pitcher's mound, and we want to make sure that it's taken care of. And number 5 is the home plate or the batter's box area. That's another area that gets a lot of traffic, a lot of holes and everything. We want to make sure that we take good care of that home plate and the batter's box area. So this one, we're going to talk about the types of grass that you usually see on the baseball field. So there are 3 main types of grass that you'll see on all baseball fields, and it has to do with the climate that you're in. And that's what we say here. The type of grass depends on the location in the USA. So if you're in a cooler climate like up north, most baseball fields that you have in your area will most likely have Kentucky bluegrass. And a lot of cooler climates, they prefer Kentucky bluegrass because of its versatility, and it can respond well to many different types of weather, especially cold weather. Warmer climates prefer Bermuda grass, especially at the nicer facilities and the higher level fields, you will see Bermuda grass. And Bermuda grass is really good for warmer climates. If you're like down south or maybe out west, you'll see Bermuda grass. The combo climates, if you're in a warm or a cold, like kind of in the middle, then you will see a combination of Kentucky grass and perennial ryegrass. So these are the 3 main types of grass that you're going to see on baseball fields, and there's different ways to take care of each one. That's why I wanted to go over them in this video. Now we're going to talk about dirt. So what is in dirt? There's really one ideal mixture of elements for a baseball field, and that is a mixture of sand, silt, and clay. Almost every single baseball field that you see in America, especially in America, you will see a combination of sand, silt, and clay. That is what infield dirt is made up of. The majority of the mixture is sand. It's normally 60 to 70%. So almost all of the dirt that you see on the baseball field, it's made up of sand, about 60 to 70%. The other 2 parts of the mix is clay and silt, as we say here, normally around 30 to 40%. So clay is a little bit more sometimes. It's usually about 20% with 10% being silt, but then other times you can see an even number like 15% and 15% with the rest of it being sand. The warning track. What is the warning track made up of? Not all fields have a warning track, like we said before, but almost all fields getting to the high school level and up, they should have one because the players are getting older, they're getting stronger, they can hit the balls out over the fence and out to the outfield. Every field that you play on at a higher level should have a warning track, and the warning track is for safety for outfielders. It does exactly that. It warns the player that they are near the fence. So if they're running out to the fence and they're running on grass and then they hit the warning track, it's a different texture and it's a different feel. So as soon as they hit that warning track, they know that they only have a certain number of steps to the fence and they are close to the fence. That's why we have warning tracks. It's for the outfielders' safety to make sure that they know that they are approaching the fence so that they should slow down, or at least to let them know that they're about to crash into the fence. Warning tracks are normally made up of crushed aggregate and sometimes mixed with clay. So aggregate, what is that? These are all something called aggregate. This is what is on a warning track. It is crushed aggregate. So you take these rocks or you take these pebbles and you crush them up really fine and small, and that's what you see on these warning tracks here. So most warning tracks are made up of crushed aggregate of any type, right? So you can see this, you can see this. Some of the nicer fields have the red clay aggregate, but it's some sort of crushed aggregate so that when the player hits the warning track, they understand that they're close to the fence because it's a completely different feel than running on the grass. The tools of the field, these are the tools that you'll need to take care of the baseball field. So here's a short list of the basic field maintenance tools. Now, I understand that most youth coaches or most youth leagues, they don't have all of these equipment. I'm just going over the basics just so you know and you have that information. Field rakes. So you'll have a general field rake, which is usually like this. You can use this on the entire infield. Any part of the dirt you can rake with this rake here. I personally have even used like a garden rake, like a hard rake like this. You can use anything like that. Anything to get it moving around and pulled up and sifted around, that works. Usually you'll see a field rake like this, but I've even used like a garden rake, like a hard rake like this. So anything you can find, you can use on the infield as long as it kind of digs in there and lifts up the dirt and moves it around a bit. So you can also have brooms. Brooms are really good to move the dirt around into different places and to make it really smooth. So after you're done raking, you can broom the dirt around and you can make it really smooth if you pull it over like this and makes the field look really nice, especially before a game. Now we're going to get into the drags. So the drag mats. So there are various steel drags. These are the steel drags that you see a lot of being pulled behind tractors and everything. These are the drags that you're going to use on the field to do the main part of the field, like the second base area and the shortstop area. Anywhere where there's not a base, where there's like open area of dirt, you're going to find these steel drags. And this is what you use to drag the field to make it all smooth and make it really nice. The weighted nail drag. Now, this is something that can be pulled behind a tractor, and you do this before you drag it with the steel drag. You do a weighted nail drag. If you put some weight on top of the nails, they really dig into the field and they lift up the dirt and they move it around, similar to what the rake does around the bases. But this covers a lot of ground in a little bit of time, the weighted nail drag does. So it digs in, it lifts up the dirt and moves it around, and then after that, you use the steel drag to make it all smooth after you use the weighted nail drag. So that combination is really good to make the field look really nice and to really take care of the field. So there's also various drag mops that you can see right here in this corner. And I've never used one of these before, but I know a lot of fields use these. And this is kind of the same thing as like a broom where you just use it last and you make the field look really smooth and really nice, especially before games. Now we have a tamp. And this is any dirt tamp. So in baseball, obviously, especially on the pitcher's mound and in the home plate area, the batter's box area, there's a lot of holes. There's always some holes that develop because of the pitcher's foot or the batter's feet. You want to fill in those holes, and when you're done filling in those holes, you have to have a tamp so you can tamp it down and make it really solid, right? You want to refill in those holes. You want to take care of that mound and take care of that batter's box area so those holes don't continue to develop and erode into the field. Now we're getting into the line chalk. So field lining tools. Most baseball fields in most counties, when they line the field, they use the chalk, and these are the chalkers that you see. So it's white chalk, and you just do a straight line all the way down from home plate to first base and home plate to third base. And these are the chalkers that you see. So there's all different types, right? And these are what you use to line the field. And the field chalk and spray is like we just talked about. There's a spray kind, and there's also a chalk kind. So a batter's box template. If you want to have a really good looking batter's box that's lined up well with the home plate area, this is optional, completely optional. I know not everybody has it, but this is something that you could use if you really want to get those batter's boxes looking nice. So this is talking about the bags of clay or dirt, right? So you can purchase bags of clay or bags of dirt, and on rainy days when you see a lot of work being done here, this is what they're doing on the field. You see this tamp here? They're basically putting extra dirt or extra clay into the pitcher's mound or into a water damaged area to kind of soak up that water and repair the field. You can have those bags, but obviously they're optional. I never used them, but if you're at a higher level field, you do have the option of using these. So care for the outfield. Most youth baseball fields, they're going to have the grass cut by the county. You will not have to take your tractor and go over the outfield and cut it. If it's a county field, then most counties will cut the grass in the outfield. The one thing you have to look at is if there's a warning track and it's not dragged, you can drag the warning track just like you would drag the infield. You can drag the warning track with this steel drag mat just to make it look nice before the game. And the biggest thing for the outfield is to look for divots and holes and point them out for safety reasons, right? So you can kind of scan before the game. You can go out to the outfield and scan for different holes and divots because it would be a really, really bad sight to see a player running for a ball and have their foot go in that divot and have something bad happen to their leg or their ankle. You don't want that to happen. So before the game, make sure you go out to the outfield and you look for any obvious big holes or divots and you want to mark them. You can either do like a spray paint line, like a spray paint white circle, or I've even put cones out there if it's a younger game, like T-ball or something like that, so the kids actually know where it is so they don't get hurt. Care for the infield. So infields, they come with all dirt infields, or some of them have grass. You will see both in baseball. So for the care in the infield, you want to rake around the bases. So around the bases, the first, second, and third base area, you want to rake that area. You want to use a nail drag first before the other drags, like we talked about before. You want to nail drag the whole entire thing to kind of sift up the dirt and move it around a little bit and bring it up out of the ground a little bit. Then you want to do a steel drag. The steel drag, remember, is to make it all smooth and nice and make the field look really nice before the game. And you want to use the drag mop if you have it. It's kind of the same thing. If you use the drag mop, it's sort of similar to the broom like we talked about. It kind of smooths out the dirt and makes it look really nice. You want to scan for rocks and large pebbles. This is where all the bad hops come from and all the errors come from, right? The ball hits a rock and it ricochets somewhere else. You want to scan the field for that. So maybe you and your team, right before the game, you can walk around the field and pick up any big rocks or pebbles. And also for safety, you don't want your players sliding on those rocks. They're going to get hurt. So make sure you scan the field always for big rocks and big pebbles. If the infield has grass, you want to make sure that it's cut, and you also want to scan that for rocks, divots, and holes. Care for the pitcher's mound and the home plate. So you want to start with the holes that are left by the feet of the pitchers and the batters. So just like this you see here, this is a hole left by a pitcher after the game. You want to target these holes first before you do anything else. You want to fill in these holes with dirt, or if you're allowed, you can fill in with extra dirt or extra clay. Now this is what we say here. Some fields, they don't allow coaches to apply additional clay or dirt, and you want to confirm this before you do it. You don't want to dump out a whole bag of clay or a whole bag of dirt, and then later on find out that the county didn't allow you to do that, and then you're not allowed to use the field anymore. So make sure that the field that you're on allows you to put your own dirt or put your own clay in the holes, and make sure you can add that to the mound or the plate. Because there are some counties and there are some fields, they don't allow you to do that. So make sure you confirm this before you do it. You want to fill in the holes and then tamp down to secure. If you're not allowed to apply extra dirt or extra clay, just use the dirt from that mound and kind of scoop it up and put it into the hole to kind of make it level. And then you want to tamp it down. Maybe water it a little bit to make sure it's more compact. You want to tamp it down to make sure that hole is all filled in for the next game. And you want to rake the whole area. Now, one little tip for the raking, make sure that you don't rake down and you pull dirt away from the mound. You want to rake up towards the rubber, because that will keep the dirt on the mound and you won't be raking the dirt into the grass. You don't want to rake the dirt into the grass, because then that would take away from the mound. You want to keep the dirt on the mound, so make sure you're not raking it into the grass. Same thing for the home plate area. You don't want to rake it into the grass. You want to keep the dirt into the plate area. So just make sure that when you're raking, the dirt is staying in that area. Some final thoughts for you. Now, additionally, you can use tarps to cover the mound and the home plate area if you're able. I know not a lot of people, especially in youth baseball, they don't have tarps to cover a field. That's not their job, right? But if you do, if you're at a higher level and you do have a tarp, make sure you use it, because that really saves you a lot of hassle when it rains. And you don't want to forget about turf fields. I know in baseball, turf fields are becoming way more popular, and there's a specific way to take care of these turf fields. The biggest thing with the turf fields is you want to do some regular scanning for debris. Just like we looked for the rocks and the pebbles, the debris is really easy to get into the turf and be hidden in the turf. So you just want to make sure that there's any debris, you want to search for it, and you want to pick that up. And you also want to make sure you sanitize and you disinfect for the health of the players, the umpires, and everyone involved. The turf field is different from the grass and the dirt, where if there's any sort of like fungus, let's say for example athlete's foot or anything like that, and it's on the turf, it's going to take a really long time for that to get off of the turf naturally. So you want to make sure that every so often this turf field or the turf fields that you're playing on are disinfected and sanitized, just for the health of everybody who's playing on it. And lastly, do what you can with what you have. I understand that it's youth baseball and not everybody has all of these special equipment and rakes and everything like that, but just do what you can with what you have. If you only have one rake, then use it. Do what you can. Do what you can with what you have. Try to make the field as nice as you can, because like I said before in the beginning, that's part of playing baseball, is keeping this field nice for everybody who plays on it. Thanks for taking another time out with Building Better Baseball. I hope you enjoyed this field maintenance BBB timeout, and you learned a lot about just how to take care of the field and the different tools that you can use to take care of the field. And I hope that when you go out to your next field, you know how to take care of it now. And if you really want to take your baseball to the next level, don't forget to visit buildingbetterbaseball.com for all of my online training courses for players and coaches. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want more. And until next time, I will see you in the next time out.